Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. And that was at least 4 years ago. So thank you, Folgers. We love you and couldn't do it without you. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for his contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro that you just heard. The regular intro, that is. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween horror and sci-fi dark wave electronic music. It can be found on any of your favorite music platforms, so please check him out. 'Tis the season, and there are a lot of amazing pieces coming out. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, characters from your favorite movies, very realistic. So again, check him out and you won't be disappointed. Also does phenomenal commission pieces. Okay, intro that we've been playing here on the network for the Halloween party on October 31st, 8 p.m. and onward. And this is where all the hosts sort of get together and just have a little bit of fun, dress up and have sort of panel discussions on different topic, keeping in line with the whole theme of Halloween and so on. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. We try to do them every year, and we really, really have a good time with them. So tonight, I've been really looking forward to this. Just a lovely lady, Karin Wilkinson. The book she will be discussing is called Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. She will share the chronicle of her life experiences, but will also provide her insights into the activities and motives of extraterrestrial beings. She will delve into the reasons behind their actions, the challenges they encounter, the intricate web of deceit that they weave in their actions with humanity. So, of course, bearing in mind formal disclosure here, opinions, information presented, expressed by guests on the Outer Realm are not necessarily those of the Outer Realm host, sponsors, or United Public Radio Network and its producers. We will always be respectful and courteous to all involved, and we also appreciate if that happens in the chat room, because people, we may agree, we may not disagree. I've met phenomenal people from all walks of life who've had varied experiences with extraterrestrials, people of faith, people not of faith, and it varies. So there's a lot of different components involved in all of that. And I am interested, really interested to hear about Karen's experiences, because, I've read, little excerpts and such from, from information she has sent me, and it's wow, but a lot of them are wow, to say the least. So I'm really interested. I know she's put a lot of research into this. For her to want to open herself up and open herself and her experiences up to the public like this, and to try to make people aware of what she went through is very important. I think all experiences are very important. So we're just going to wait for her to come on, and the lovely lady is here. So just before we let her on, I want to say thank you to Wayne for tuning in, Ruth, Chris already. Oh, Lawrence from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hello, hello. I don't recognize you, so welcome if this is your first time. Very appreciated. Doreen, hello. And remember, guys, there are 7 chat rooms. Roku TV does not have a chat room, but all the other platforms do. So remember, please, you are coming in from a 7-lane highway into 1 lane. We will get to you as we can, and we will keep in line with, of course, Karen's schedule in all of this. And hopefully we can squeeze in some questions and comments as we move along. So thank you, Kathy. Without further ado, our special guest, woo, Karin, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I've just been, reading over some of the notes that you've sent, and I was explaining to people, it varies. So many people, we've had so many people on in 4 years who have had experiences. Some of them have been very, very traumatic. Other people have been, it wasn't really that bad. Other people are, military abductees, which are never pleasant, I'm sure.
No. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we've even had people on the show break down while telling their experiences. So it's a very emotional, however you look at it, traumatic for some, and emotional on different levels. So
Absolutely.
I see you have your book cover back, and I thought I'd do this for.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that too. That's lovely.
Right. So I guess I like to start with humble beginnings, because it's not like one. And before, and again, let me back up a minute. Amelia's at a function tonight, family thing, couldn't get out of it. And dislikes that she can't be here, but is also happy and thrilled to be there for the support of her family member. Her daughter was nominated for an award, so it's
wonderful.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So okay, I'm back on track. I'm sorry I had to squirrel out for a moment. How does this book, Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest, how did it come into play? So where do you want to start? This is your show. Let's go with it.
Well, thank you, Michelle. This is your show. I am just so pleased to be here with you. And just to, and tell Amelia, I'm so sorry I missed her, but I love her. I think she's wonderful. So maybe another time I can come back when she's here and get to see her.
Absolutely.
But I love your comment in the beginning that, everyone has different experiences. And I think that's really important to, especially when I talk to people, to listen to them, take into account their experiences and support them where they are. Because we can't expect everyone to be the same, to feel the same way and have the same experiences. So I think that's very important. And I love that you said that. And I love that you're so supporting of people and that you listen. I think that's just something that's missing for a lot of people right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
I can start with how the book came to be. I had a near death, or what I like to call a near life experience, a couple of years ago. And I write about it in my book. And the way it came about, there was a lot of trauma associated, although I had an amazing experience with it. It's just beautiful, amazing experience. And I can certainly expand on that later if anyone wants to.
Yeah, because I just love how you call it a near life.
Well,
as opposed to the other way. They're life altering, aren't they?
They are. And I think death it sounds like you're losing something, and that's not at all what happened. It was a beautiful experience. I gained so much from it. Even though the process of getting there was very traumatic, because I was given a paralytic on an operating table instead of a sedative and no one was around. So that portion of it was very traumatic, but I heard a voice say very clearly in my head, "It's okay. You can let go now." And just like that, I was out of my body. I could see everything in other rooms. I could hear and see everyone, even though I didn't have a physical body. And it was just the most loving, peaceful, amazing experience I have ever had. We don't have any way to describe the kind of love and peace that I felt. I wish I could share that with everyone and let everyone feel that, because it is beyond explanation and beyond words. And that's why I call it a near life experience, because it was just beautiful and amazing.
So you came back a different person?
I really did. Really did. And the funny thing about it too was I was still me during the experience, even though I didn't have a body. I didn't have the things we associate ourselves with. I didn't have these earrings or whatever,
Yeah.
I was still me. My personality was there.
Right.
So I tell everyone, we are still us, regardless of this physical body is not all who we are. It's just where we live right now.
And I love that. I think many people have come on through the years to talk about it, and they seem to say the same thing as you. There's just like, there's no words to describe the experience aside from utter utopia, like, and in a way that's, again, so difficult to project. You wish you could just put it in a package, put it out there, and
Yes.
just show people.
And just save it forever and just always feel it. Because, the further you get away from it, that feeling, because it's not something that belongs here where we are.
Yeah.
So we don't have it. So it's hard to remember it. But I'll never forget how amazing it was.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
So after that, I had some PTSD from the way that it happened. And I went to therapy for that PTSD because it was just terrible.
Wow.
And in the process of doing that, though, I was able to also deal with the lifetime of torment and the things that had happened to me during my abduction experiences.
May I ask, did you have recollection of your abduction experiences before this happened?
Oh, yes, very much.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
And not every one of them. I don't have recollection of everything that happened. I have sometimes here that I remember in there and bits and pieces of this one and that one. And, some are very detailed where I was very much conscious the whole time. And then some I would wake up, in the beginning or in the middle or in the end. So it just really depends on the specific time and the specific event.
Right.
But it was really helpful. And I was able to start processing and dealing with that. And I did have, after that near life experience, they had a lot of trouble getting me to kind of come back in recovery. It was just, it was so painful. Everything was really, I was not doing well every time they tried to bring me up. And it took about 4 hours. And the last time they tried to bring me out of the anesthesia, I just remember praying, God, please help me. I don't know what to do, because I was kind of stroking and things like bad things were happening.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there were these two beautiful young male orderlies standing at the foot of the bed, and they calmed me down and they helped me through it. And they were just loving and kind and warm and loving. And when I was going up the elevator back to the room, back to ICU, and my husband and my daughter were there, and I grabbed their hands. I'm like, you have to meet the orderlies that helped me through recovery. And they're like, what boys? I'm like, they're right here. And there's no one else there except the other orderly and the nurse who brought me up. And I looked at them, I said, where did the boys go? What boys are you talking about? And nobody knew who I was talking about. Nobody knew who they were. And, so I figured that they must have been angels.
Yes.
So there are really beautiful, good, positive, loving, angelic entities out there.
And it's what you needed.
It was.
Right. Yeah.
And so I like to include those stories, and I like those accounts, and I put those in my book along with some other really amazing, miraculous things, because it's not all negative. There are some really beautiful things that happen, and there are beautiful angelic entities out there. God is really good, and he really loves us and wants to help us. And, and I want to make sure that we kind of keep that balance.
Yeah.
There's good and there's bad. And it's important to
know I want
that.
people to sleep at night.
Yes, exactly.
That'd be good.
But, and I didn't want this book to be scary. I didn't want to scare anyone. So I kept it high level. I didn't put a ton of details. There are one or two areas where I say, if this type of thing scares you, then go ahead and skip this little bit, and they're not big parts. But I didn't want to trigger anyone, because I wanted this to be a way to make it okay to talk about these things.
Right.
So the book came about, to kind of get back to that, after I had gone through the PTSD therapy and was able to start dealing with and processing these things that had happened. I wanted to talk about it, and I wasn't sure who to go to. And I was led to L.A. Marzulli, who you've had on your show.
He's been on the show, yeah. Yeah,
Lovely,
he's a great guy.
Amazing guy, right?
Yeah.
So I just felt comfortable telling him, and I told him the story in an interview during a conference. And that ended up being sort of the centerpiece of his fourth UFO movie on the abduction phenomenon. And after that, I had people, a lot of women especially, coming up to me, thanking me for talking about it and wanting to share. And,
Right.
and maybe someone wanted to pray with me, someone to share stories, someone to listen
Mm-hmm.
and make it okay to talk about. And it just touched me so much that I was able to just listen and be there for them and email or whatever we did and talk. And that inspired me then to write the book because I wanted it to be okay to talk about. There's such a stigma behind it. And,
I agree. And I think it's one of those things that people don't know where to turn. A lot of people don't remember. A lot of people don't want to remember. A lot of people thrive and spend their whole life trying to remember. Like, there's such a balance. You made a comment, that there are amazing beings out there. I guess it's like people. You have good people, you have bad people. The creator, created, I believe, many. I
Yes.
don't believe he would just limit himself to little old us on this little floating ball in this amazing universe. I truly believe that, if you have the ability to create one universe, you have the ability to create many, so
I do.
you
I
have your
think
good seeds and your bad seeds.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you believe in the Bible, even or the scrolls or the ancient texts from many, many different countries and places and people and belief systems, they talk about a race before us and that there was a rebellion. And generally, they pretty much agree that a third of them fell. And so you have basically a third of them that are the malevolent, the evil or bad or not helpful, entities. And then you still have all these lovely, loving, wonderful
Light beings.
Good, yes, angelic beings, light beings. And so the issue with it is that if you had two of them standing in front of you, they're not going to tell you, whichever one might, if one of them was evil and one of them was good, the evil one's not going to come out and tell you, hey, I'm the evil dude. He's going to try to trick you into thinking, I'm good. I'm love and light. And that is the problem with the malevolent beings is that
they're amazing mimics.
They are. And we don't have the skill sets to deal in that realm with those beings and those entities. So we have to be very, very careful with that. And I really caution against that in the book too. But so that was really the reason that I wrote it, was just and I'm now researching some different people and different groups that I'm going to eventually have on my website to offer more outlets for people to go to, whether it be support groups or therapists or people like that, and have more available. Right now, you can contact me through my website, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Going through emails, I'm happy to do that. But it's just something I think it just needs to be okay to talk about. And there's just such a stigma. And then look at what's happening with our government now. They're coming forward and admitting to the things that we've known, the things that are out there.
That's a tough one because, when you think about it, they pretty much have to admit that they were aware all along. And that makes it really, really hard, I'm going to back up a little bit, and because I noticed that Kat, a Paranormal Heart, hello, asked, when did your experiences start for you? And can you talk about them a little bit?
Absolutely. They started from as early as I can remember. My earliest memories are being taken when I was little. And I was very scared. I was terrified. They were scary. They were not pleasant experiences. I would be taken, and, being a little kid, I remember just looking for somewhere to hide. I read about one thing where at one point I thought if I could find a big enough suitcase and get in it under the bed and zip it up, maybe then they couldn't find me, I
Right.
mean, the way a little child's mind thinks, I was always looking for ways, but there was just no way
Right.
to not be found at night. So it
That's a
would
tough
usually,
one.
yeah, it was really hard. I was just terrified.
But are you the only one in your family? Because
No,
like it goes, lineages, lifetime, lifetimes, lineages,
no,
ancestral. Did you have other people in your family who have been experiencing this as well that you could turn to?
no, I didn't have anyone I could turn to. It wasn't
Oh,
something we talked about, and there's a couple of reasons for that. And I do believe it runs in families. And I can't speak for the family members I have that are out there
mm,
now because those are their stories to tell if they want to. But what I can say is when we were little, the first thing was we didn't have words to talk about it. We didn't, if we didn't know what to call them.
yeah,
There's, they're taking me, they're touching me, they're bothering me, we didn't have a vocabulary. There weren't
right.
TV shows and books and movies and podcasts and streaming. We just didn't have the things we have today,
True.
and it wasn't talked about as much as it is today. So,
Well, I think families just look at that as a family secret. We don't talk about any of that stuff.
oh, that
What
too.
would the neighbors say? I grew up in the same year.
Yeah, right. We got to be about in the same time frame. So
Yeah.
we didn't talk about things like that. Number one, and number two, I was warned by these entities against speaking about it, and I was threatened. They showed me at one point it seems real. It's like when today we have virtual reality, like you can put on a pair of virtual reality goggles and
Yes.
feel like you're seeing something real. That's what it was like for me back then when they would show me I think they call it like a screen memory or something like that, where you feel like you're there. You can
Right.
feel, and I could feel everything happening. And they showed me my family being killed in front of me. And that's what would happen if I talked to anyone about it. And because I was trying to talk about it. I was trying
Right.
to talk to kids at school. I was trying to talk to the nurse. I was having, I had a little breakdown at school when I was about 6 years old, and they found me in a bathroom just huddled in a corner, I'd had it. I couldn't take
Right.
it anymore. And I think
Right.
that's the point where I kind of figured out how to separate it from my
Yeah.
life and put that over here and then life over there, and you don't mix the two.
Right.
And it keeps your sanity, but a 6-year-old shouldn't have to figure that kind of
That's
thing.
a lot to take in for sure.
It was. So for me, it wasn't a loving, beautiful thing that was happening. And I saw other children there sometimes, and they were not happy children either. They were terrified or crying or scared or screaming. Or
Can I
some of
ask
them not.
what type of aliens that you were being taken by? I guess
Sure.
we should
I
elaborate
guess
because there's a lot of
yes.
different ones. So,
I
because I
can
have
back up
people
to
out there probably going,
yes.
which one?
Which ones?
Yes.
So when I was little, the typical gray with the bulbous heads and the big, large black eyes and no real other features, about 3 to 4 feet tall, the shorter ones would show up usually at the foot of the bed or beside the bed or somewhere in the room before as the abduction was starting.
Right.
And I would feel a change in the air, almost like electricity, almost like static electricity before they
I've
would
heard
even
of that.
show up.
Yeah.
And I would then feel like just almost an evil presence. And sometimes I would wet the bed, and then I would, then they would be, sometimes it would get really quiet, like all the crickets and cicadas and things would just stop. And then at that point, generally I would either be put to sleep, shut down, shut off. If not, there were also times where I wasn't shut off, and I would levitate and go through a window or up through the ceiling. And seeing details like all the little creases in the weird wallpaper that was on the ceiling, because back then some of the houses wallpapered the ceilings. I don't know if they do that anymore.
Right.
But and all the bugs in the light fixture that was way above me and as a little kid, or
Right.
or thinking, how am I going through this window? And
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what did that feel like? Because I had I've had people describe that. you know,
Yeah, for me, it was like your
paramount.
body starts to almost vibrate and shake. You feel like a buzzing, vibrating kind of thing. And then you feel like you're made out of almost ball bearings. It's really hard to describe.
I
It's
have
the
to say that's the first for me, the ball bearing thing.
feeling, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost, trying to
yeah,
say it's like you're made of a bazillion little pieces.
right, right.
So it's just so hard to describe
So
how
you're
that
defying like the law
feels.
of everything in that moment.
Yes. And
Right.
you have to think these are entities that are far more advanced than we are. They've been around a lot longer than the human race has. And
Mhm.
they also are not made for our planet, where we live. They're made for a different realm. So they have different laws of physics and different understanding and different
Mm,
knowledge than we have. So when we try to put them in the little box that we live in, it doesn't make sense.
right.
It
Well, we're
defies all the
so
things that we
confined
understand.
by the law of gravity, the law of everything. I mean, we're not.
Yes.
I do agree with you on that. So I'm going to play, pardon the pun, devil's advocate. Or just you think they'd come up with a different term, but I'm going to play the part right now. Could it be? Because I mean, I have researched this a lot since having the show and
Mhm.
realized I'd had experiences myself and I just never recall them. What I thought was a lot of demonic stuff, which it was. They seem to go hand in hand with the behaviors, the smells, the sounds that you hear, the sleep paralysis, like a lot of that. They seem to blend in, like what some people might think are extraterrestrial abductions sometimes end up being demonic attachment, for example, or vice versa. Then you have science that gets themselves right in the middle of all of that. Just I was going to say to confuse things, but they have their bit as well. So, do you think it could be a MyLab or military abduction? Like, do you have military associations or family members or anything that could
Mhm.
somebody would you would catch somebody's eye? I guess I have to
Mhm.
ask.
I think that, I know that most of mine were with alien entities, but there were also humans there working with them.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting.
So,
Okay.
yeah, they were both. So mine didn't have that strictly purely military aspect to them that I can
Okay.
remember. Now I
Okay.
could have suppressed memories, because I haven't remembered everything. And
Mhm.
I, haven't encouraged myself to do that because some of these
Okay.
memories are so painful
Yeah.
that I've just kind of it was painful to write the book and it
Yeah.
was an emotional roller coaster, but it was also cathartic at the same time. It was scary to put that out there for the world
Mhm.
because a lot of people criticize and call you crazy and say that I'm delusional and that I'm having psychotic delusions and
It's
like,
why I asked the question because it's something that it's a going through process of elimination. It's a very commonly asked question and one that
sure,
really early days for me of research never even thought to ask, you
sure.
know?
It makes
I'm
sense. No, and
yeah.
you have to think about it. I describe in the book the difference between a memory and a dream
Okay.
because memories, they're tangible. If you fall and break your leg or if you fall and skin your knee, especially traumatic memories
Right.
or if when you first kiss someone or when you
Yeah.
first pick up a kitten, these
Yeah.
are memories and they're just there.
Mhm.
Dreams, they don't stick the same way. You can
Mm.
write a dream, there's a reason people keep dream journals and things like that. Dreams
Mm.
don't necessarily stick with you the same way. They tend to be more fleeting.
Mhm.
And the other thing with memories is I don't, you wouldn't have these recurring dreams with the same people going to the same place or different places and doing different things each time and having your pajamas come back inside out when you wake up in the morning or waking up in a different room in the house or
Mm.
having weird marks on your body
Mhm.
or having missing pregnancies, which I had. I've had anomalous medical things that couldn't tell me why,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
there are just too many things. Plus, they're my memories. This happened to me. I was awake, I was aware, I was
Mm.
conscious, I was cognizant. So, and when people are constantly coming up to you and saying, no, you're just imagining this, you second guess yourself. Of course you do. Any rational person would.
Sure,
I really
sure.
had to sit and be like, "There's no this is real as me sitting here today,"
Right. Well,
and anyone can kind of make you feel crazy, but
that's
no,
what she said. You're not crazy. You're a victim.
exactly. Thank you.
Right.
And it's the same thing that happens in abusive relationships, where people stay too long and they make excuses for their abuser. And then people are like, oh, you're fine. I
Become
don't see what's
conditioned.
wrong with you. If you can't see
Yeah.
the bruises, it doesn't count somehow.
It's
Exactly.
conditioning.
It's conditioning. Exactly.
Yeah, you become conditioned to the environment, the experience.
Exactly.
Jade wants to know, are you grateful for the experience as to the person you are today is what I would take it one step further. Would you rather have not it happened at all? And
Yeah, I would rather it not have happened at all. It was
wow.
very traumatic throughout my whole life. I would absolutely rather this not have happened to me or anyone else, honestly,
Right.
because I had no say in it. I
Right.
didn't choose this and I didn't want it. And it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't love and light. It wasn't kindness. It was medical experiments and things happening, very traumatic things that I don't necessarily like to talk about as much, but there's some of them are in the book that, this is not something I would wish on anyone or myself. I would wish I could say it was. And what I will say though is now I am grateful that I can take it and use it for something good. That I can take it and find the good and find good in it that I can use and just use it as a vehicle to help other people, to talk with other people, to offer, here's how I was able to stop it. For me, this is what worked. Everyone is different.
So you were able to stop it?
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay. And
yes.
how, may I ask, is that something that you...
Absolutely, sure. For me, it was my spiritual journey. Okay. It was my journey with God. And I realized that there is a pecking order. There is a higher power and there is one at the top. And that was Jesus for me. And when I called on him and I realized that he had that authority, so I called on him and his authority and I believed it. And then that was all it took. And they backed off. They backed away. They can't come in my home. I've seen them outside the window. I've seen them, we've had some sort of interactions, but nothing has happened since then. And they haven't been able to take me since then.
So when was your last interaction, I guess, abduction, contact? Like how old were you when I'm just trying to get a scope as to how long
it was only a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was only a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago.
So your whole life, pretty much, you've been like dealing with this.
Absolutely. And it just, it becomes a part of who you are and what you do. And it becomes less frequent and you learn to just give in to being shut off. You learn to give in to screen memories because you just don't want to remember and deal with it. And so, there are different ways of dealing with it. But now I just have the freedom from it. And that's great. And they've come and tried to approach me again, offered, we can help you with pain. We can make you successful. We can do, they've offered all kinds of things. And I'm like, no, that's
interesting.
No, thank you. I'm
that's interesting. Yeah, to offer success and
I'm not
usually
doing this for success. This book is not about that. You don't write a book to make money. That's not what happens when you write a book. It's about helping.
Right. Because usually now, again, I can only go by people, who've been on the show. Because I have my experiences, some are more vivid than others, so I can only go so far with it. But from what a lot of people have said, and not all, I've had people, like I say, break down here, traumatic experiences, but the ones who had more pleasant experiences, the one thing they can't get past is it's invasive when they just show up in your room at night. It's your safe place. You're supposed to always feel safe there. Right. So that's the one part that everybody agrees on. No, that's just weird. Stop it. But
it is. It's like, if you're love and light, then why can't we do this another way? Then come and talk to me about it. Then if you're communicating with me already, then why can't we sit down and agree on, okay, yeah, you're going to come this time of night and we're going to do this. And I'm, you know,
But
going to
tell me,
agree
I
to
want the
that.
choice.
Yeah, but I want the choice and I want to know. And if I'm going to agree to it, then I should have some say in it and I shouldn't feel violated, you know, and especially for little kids, you know, I just, that doesn't make sense to me to think that it's okay to take a small child against their will.
Yeah, I think that's for people. I mean, this again, there have been reports of people who, as children, had good experiences, but it hits a certain age and it changes for some, but not for all. You
Right.
know, it seems different age groups go through different things at different your personality. Like if you go in there kicking and screaming and you want to beat the crap out of them and fight back, then of course, you know, I mean, I would get aggressive if somebody tried to turn on me. You know? So
Yeah.
I can imagine, you know, that it would be the same. I can only, again, just putting myself as devil's advocate position here.
No, that's good. That's
know?
good. And you need to, because you're asking the questions and making the comments that I'm sure I wish I could read the comments.
Oh, I'm
while
gonna
we're doing
put I'm
like
gonna put them up. I just didn't want to
I
interrupt
see,
you.
no, it's okay. And I see them, but as we're talking, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm leaning in closer to see if I can, but I don't want
I'll
to
read
stop
them
our
out because we do
conversation.
have we're an FM station as well. So we have a
Okay.
really large audio listenership. So Jade says non-consensual is invasive.
Mhm.
I get that. That's amazing that you turned your pain into power. And
Thank you,
here's a
Jade.
question. Some people with these experiences report that they have obtained psychic abilities, which I've heard often they did
Yes.
not have before abductions.
Yeah.
Does Karen have any abilities or any others in her family?
Yes, I did. I do, and I did, and I don't mess with that anymore because I
It's the
don't want to
faith.
mess within realms that I'm not
Yeah.
intended to be in or that I'm not comfortable with. I'm
Right.
still very sensitive,
Right.
sensitive to kind of good and evil, and sensitive to if I'm in a place where something bad has happened or there's something malevolent or
Yeah.
negative or evil spirits there. I
Right.
feel that still. So I did absolutely have that,
Okay.
and as did other members of my family. Yes.
Okay. So next question, Chris, does she think that these things are demons?
Okay, that's a great question, Chris. Demons, as defined in the extra canonical books like Jasher and Enoch, in
Yes.
ancient scrolls and ancient texts and
Ezekiel,
things,
all those,
Ezekiel,
yeah.
yes, are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. Well, what are the Nephilim? The Nephilim are the progeny or the children of the fallen watcher angels and human beings. And Genesis 6 tells us they saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and took for them wives of whomever they chose, and they began to multiply. And the flood of the time of Noah wiped out those Nephilim, and their spirits were then damned to wander the earth because they were neither earthly nor heavenly. They were not one or the other. They were both. And what the interesting thing about the demons is, I believe that that's what inhabits the grays that we see most often, the little 3 to 4 foot gray alien entities. There are different kinds of gray entities and different kinds of alien entities, and I can go into a little bit of which ones
Please.
I have encountered if you want.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Please.
When I was little, I encountered more of the Nordic looking entities. And as a result of that, I was terrified of my father's family because they were similar in appearance. And as a little kid, you don't notice the fact the Nordics had much larger eyes,
Right.
much fairer skin, much fairer, different, features and hair, but still they were similar enough that it had a real impact on me. I encountered the smaller grays, which are the ones that came and usually were the ones that took me, or the transporters,
Yeah.
they would be the ones here in our atmosphere on our earth doing things, on the ships or underground in the facilities where I would be taken. They were taller. I call them older grays. They just, not that I know that they're older, they just have this older look about them because
Right.
they're taller. They have more kind of wrinkled skin.
Right.
They don't smell as bad as the other grays.
Oh,
They
that's interesting. I've
so,
actually never heard that
they
before.
don't. Yeah, they're a little more pleasant smelling to be around.
Okay.
Their eyes move. their eyes just shift from one side. It's hard to do that because I'm a mirror image
Yeah.
on the screen, so
No.
in this way. But their eyes will shift from one side to the other. Where the little grays, their eyes don't ever seem to shift or move or change because I think it's just a lens.
And can I ask about the odor? That's a big curiosity to me.
Yeah, some of the shorter grays, they have this almost dead animal / sulfur smell
Ah, I've heard
to
that.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
some more
It's the
than
same.
others.
It's the same sort of thing that they report when demonic entities come in.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
I've
And I
spent
think
20
that
years of my life removing entities
oh,
from
really?
people's lives. Yeah. So
I did not
that is a
realize
very
that people
typical
reported that.
smell.
Oh, okay. I have never heard that. That is really interesting. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Oh, you're
sharing that.
welcome. That's what I mean. There's a lot of similarities in
Yeah.
in the smells, the
Mhm.
sounds,
Mhm.
static smells, clicking, things like that, which is why they seem to.
Interesting.
Which
Yeah.
one's which?
Well, and then that's interesting because the smaller, shorter grays, I believe they're just like a suit, like a meat suit, like a biological suit. Now we
Okay.
can do that today in a lab. We can create
Sure.
one in a
Sure.
lab.
Yeah.
I believe that they create these, and they're made to look like an existing race. There is a race of grays that aren't suits, so they're
Right.
not all that. But I think they make these to house these demonic entities and utilize them to kind of be the workers, the worker bees,
Mhm.
because you have these demonic entities. If they're the spirits of the deceased Nephilim, then they're the deceased children of these fallen angelic beings. And while those 200 original watchers are obviously chained in Tartarus, is what we're told in the Bible and the other books, there are other fallen angelic beings because there were more than 200 in the third that fell, right?
Right. Right.
So we are dealing with more than just that 200, and they also figured out along the way how to procreate and create their own progeny. So we have untold numbers of these demonic entities, from these deceased Nephilim. So this is a way for them to have a house, a body to live in. Of course, they're going to take orders because they're going to be subservient to these angelic beings who are higher up in the food chain, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yeah.
And they don't have a mouth that functions. They don't have, they don't have any ears. You can
Well, they're
see
telepathic, right?
Yeah, they don't speak.
Yeah.
They don't have teeth or a mouth. They don't. They're frail. They look like you could just snap them in half. They don't smell very good. So it kind of all really fits that, and that is from my experience being around them what I feel that they are. I think they could also be run by AI, possibly some of them.
I believe
I think
some,
there's different
sure.
things can be utilized because
Yeah.
it's basically a suit. So you can
Right.
probably use it like a space suit. And I
I agree.
don't think all these entities can be here in our environment, especially during the day. So I
Right.
think that's utilized as kind of a safety precaution too, because
Mhm.
if someone sits up with a shotgun, if one of these entities is showing up in a fleshly form, because we know that angelic and light beings can do that they can change their form, they don't want to be,
Shut
in the
up.
way of something like
Yeah.
that. There's a
Right.
lot of different reasons it could happen. I mean, that's not the most realistic
Right.
example, but I'm just trying to, paint a picture here of
I
why
mean,
they would utilize them. And so I think they
they
utilize
can
them
get
anyway.
in accidents and get
Yes,
hurt as much
exactly.
as,
When the
most
crashes
other
and things
beings. I
like
mean, I
that.
think, Roswell talks a lot about
Oh, yeah,
that happening. So we know
absolutely.
it's, possible.
And yeah, if that crashes and that gray's there and they get captured, they can just leave because it's a demonic entity. They don't have to inhabit that being, that suit. And so it gives them that opportunity. And myself and others have reported seeing these empty suits stacked or hanging or in drawers on ships and underground in other places.
Right.
So
Which
they
is why I
really,
always wonder if it was military.
I really think it's both. I think they're working
Right.
together, and I think they have been for
I
a
think
long
if you can get
time.
away with doing something, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a perfect opportunity. Just saying,
Mm-hmm.
like, I know about people listening going,
Yeah,
but
I know
just
it
saying,
sounds crazy,
if
but
it's a suit, anybody can get in it. So,
exactly.
you
Anyone, if
know,
anyone can get in it, then we don't know who's in that suit at the time.
right,
And that's another reason not to trust them when you see
right,
them. Because
right.
how do you know? You don't. And you definitely don't want to
Well, you're in
put
a
any
very
trust in
vulnerable
anyone.
place, and you're in a very vulnerable position at that
Mhm.
time,
Yes.
you know. So going back, I know Dolly's got a question, so I'll get back to it. So, what was your experience like being on the ship? You're seeing all of these beings around you. What
Yeah.
was your experience?
Yeah. It was
Whatever you're
scary.
willing to share. I know it gets really deep, and I don't want to
Yeah.
put you in that position.
No, it's okay. There are a lot of different experiences because a lot of different things happen, and I was abducted so many times.
Wow.
So sometimes it would be a medical exam. Sometimes it
Right.
would be something that looked like a big x-ray machine. Sometimes it would be needles.
Mm,
Sometimes it would be physical exams. Early in life, sometimes I would just be sitting around this weird little table with other kids, and some of them are really messed up. You know,
wow.
yeah, it was different
Mhm,
times. So you have to, I can, recall certain specific events, but not every time.
mhm.
Um, it was scary. There were the taller, what I call older looking grays. There were the Nordic type ones. I had a man with me most of the time. I call him my handler. I had a kind of Stockholm syndrome relationship with him over the years.
Yeah.
He became someone who kind of looked out for me. I felt like he was protecting me from the other entities. And
Mm,
as we grew closer later in my life, he showed me his true form. It was a reptilian form. It wasn't like something I've seen pictures of. I've looked, I can't find anything that kind of looks like him, but they're similar.
right.
And I tried my best in the book to describe him.
Mhm.
He was beautiful. He was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I really think he was an angelic being, a fallen angelic being. But,
Mhm.
even Satan was the most beautiful of all the
Morning
beings.
star after
Oh,
all.
yeah, right. So
Yeah.
you can't judge a book by its cover. And
No,
that's,
absolutely not.
he was
Absolutely
stunning.
not.
And when his human form that he appeared to me in was beautiful as well. He was stunning. He was very, muscular, very built, very square jawed, just
Mm,
picturesque,
yeah.
and very kind, I felt.
Right.
Even though the things that he did to me eventually were not kind, I was, consensual because I had this capture bonding relationship with him,
Yes.
and I was used to
Yes.
him. And sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't,
Yes, that's true.
and I'd rather stick with him
Know thy
than
enemy,
on to
right?
another one, right?
Yeah.
And I felt comfortable enough that I knew he wasn't going to kill me. He didn't want to hurt me,
Mhm.
but he
But did
did
he
want to
try
hurt
to
me. But he
but did
was
he
hurting
try to help you? Yeah, that's
me. No,
what I
he
mean,
never
like,
tried to help me, and
right,
that's the difference. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not really hurting me, but you are hurting me, and the things
right,
that happened were horrific. And there,
right.
we're talking about a sexual violation that is just no violation of a man
Right.
or a woman is ever okay,
No,
let
correct,
alone the
correct.
types of things I went through.
Mhm,
And, he was there to keep me in line and keep me calm and have me going in the right places and doing the right things. So,
mhm.
it wasn't pleasant. None of it was pleasant. And like I said before, if I could have none of it happen, I would
Right.
gladly have had
I
none of
could
it
see why. I could see why.
happen.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that part of it. It's, it gets very
it's really
emotional,
hard. So
but
yeah,
I'd like people to understand, what it is that you go through, because a lot of people have like zero recollection of their experiences, or like you say, screen memories.
yeah,
That's a really big one. Like, a lot of people have no clue what
yeah,
I mean, they believe their entire ancestry is something that doesn't exist for real,
yeah.
screen memories.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, what happens to us, and those of us who've had this happen to us, it
Mhm.
affects every choice we make. It affects the type of men we choose, the way we act and react in a physical relationship, in an emotional relationship.
Mhm.
It it just breaks down and destroys so many of the things that we should have that should be normal in our lives, and we don't get to have that because
No,
of
it's sheer dysfunction. It's just what
Mhm.
what what you come
Yeah.
from.
So, it took me a long, long time to work through that. But then once I was able to work through with the PTSD training,
Mhm.
it was so much easier. It was like
Right.
a huge weight was lifted. And when I got to sit down and tell my story to Ellie Marzulli, oh, it was a huge weight just lifted off of me. I think I probably cried for a couple of hours because
It's
I
a
couldn't believe
release.
I told the story. I was terrified that I told the story. No, what's going to happen? Who's going to, am I going to die?
Mhm.
Are they going to come after me
Right.
right now? Even though I
Right.
knew I was saved and I knew I was protected, I
Yes.
was still terrified. And then I was like, no, I can't live my life in fear. If I'm gonna share this, I have to share this, and I have to do
Right.
good with it.
Right.
And
Right.
so, it just encourages you. And I felt like God really encouraged me to do this. Every morning I would wake up and I would hear the Holy Spirit would say to me, "Go write." And I'd be like, "Lord, what do you want me to write?" And he'd be like, "Just go write your truth. Go write what happened." I'm like, "Ooh, I don't
Free
know. I don't
will.
know if I can do
It's
that."
free will. I
Maybe I'll
know.
try to write something else. And no, you
Right.
can't. When the Holy Spirit tells you to do something, you you're in that lane and you're doing it. It's just
Right.
the pull is so strong.
Yes.
And so I sat day and afternoon and night and I just wrote and I wrote and I wrote until it
Mm.
was written and it was done. And then I was like, I can't believe this.
Right.
I mean,
I think
it,
it's different seeing it on paper, isn't it? Like, it just makes it
it's,
more real.
and then sharing it. It's like handing your
Yeah.
baby off to a bunch of people to critique.
Yeah.
It's it,
Yes.
it's scary, um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it was
Invigorating?
it was cathartic. It was
Yes.
cathartic, but I was terrified to put it out there. I
Really.
was
Have you
absolutely.
gotten a lot of resistance from it? Like, do people have
um,
difficulty with the story?
I've gotten some resistance, but
Okay.
I've gotten more support than I ever could have imagined.
Right.
I have, more people have reached out to, in gratitude that I wrote it.
Right.
Grateful that they have another story like theirs,
Mhm.
that they're not alone,
Right.
that it's okay, or that there's a story similar enough that now it's okay.
Well, people
There's
find
there's
strength in
comfort.
others.
Yeah, there's
Right.
comfort in
Yeah.
knowing you're not alone, and there's comfort
Right.
in knowing that someone else got through it, and I share how I got through it and how
Mhm.
I stopped it, and how I've continued to keep them at bay and away from me, and how I've been able to just turn my life around,
Mhm.
and God has turned my life around. God has saved me from this, and it's
Right.
amazing. It's a miracle. I've had
Right.
a lot of really incredible miracles, and I write a lot of those in there in the book because like I said, I don't want it to all be negative, and it's not. There's some really positive, amazing, beautiful things that have happened
Mm.
as a result of this, and that's God giving me beauty for ashes all
Right.
day long. So,
Right.
you've
Right.
got to find that in it because I didn't think I was going to be able to continue to live. I didn't think I was really on the edge, and I really didn't have the will to continue before all this happened.
Right.
It was just too much. It was too heavy. It was too hard, and especially losing the children along the way, the missing
Right.
pregnancies.
Right.
That part, you never
Mhm.
you never get over losing a child.
No.
And there's so many other women who've had that happen.
Right.
I'm sorry if I don't know if you
No,
can
no,
hear
no.
me. My voice is.
That's okay.
It's just
That's okay.
that's the hardest thing, and then to hear other women tell that story. It sorry. It
I would hug you if I could reach you.
Thank you. I can feel that coming off of you. You have that kind of love about you. I love that.
Thank you.
That you know, and then talking to other women who've been through it too, and being able to comfort each other. That's the
Mm.
greatest joy. At the same time, sharing our tears
Mhm.
has been really healing and cathartic. So, but uh, as a woman and as a mother, it's just you need to be able to mourn that child or see that child or be with that child
Right.
and the things
Right.
that happened. And I did see those children eventually.
Right.
And that was an unfortunate meeting. But yeah, so anyone out there who's had that, my heart goes out to you, you know,
Mm.
contact
Ca
me. We'll talk. I will talk to you about it if it will help because
so,
it helped me.
can I ask, when you say it was an unfortunate meeting
Hmm.
of seeing seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, I mean, even men, people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize even men can be traumatized over things like this. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
can feel just as violated. But
Men, absolutely. And I know some men who have been violated that way and who are very traumatized by it.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you have some people who are grateful to be able to see their
Mhm.
offspring, even, because I
I'm
would
grateful that
imagine
I
if,
saw them. I did see them, and I am very
yeah, because a
grateful.
hybrid child, I don't think would do well in this world necessarily, depending
No.
on the
No,
characteristics. So
no,
how,
especially the era that mine were born in. So mine would be in their 30s now.
yeah,
And it was only a
so
couple of years ago when I finally got to see them. And I can tell you about a little bit about that if
yeah,
everyone wants to
please,
hear that. Okay. I did
absolutely,
hold one of them when it was a baby,
right.
and it didn't cuddle into me. It didn't have that warm, nurturing, loving cuddle that you get from your baby or anyone else's baby. Its head
Mm,
was more large. The color of it was more of a blue, purple, red kind of color. It just wasn't normal. I
mm,
wanted to keep it. I didn't want to give it back, even though I knew it wasn't right and it
mm,
wasn't fully human. I still didn't want to let go of it, but
mm,
I didn't have a choice.
mm.
Um, and I longed for them for my whole life. And
Oh,
a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity. I woke up one night and there were 3 children standing by my bed. I say children, they're in their 30s, so they weren't little children.
but they're still yours.
They were mine. I could tell from looking at them they were mine. They didn't look human. They were shorter and much more stocky and short than my children. They had kind of a blue, purplish kind of skin,
Mm-hmm.
big, big black eyes. And the room was really dark and it was really dark around them. So it was
Mm-hmm.
hard to see real clear details of them. The the thing that happened though, I was so excited at first. I'm like, and at first I said one of my other kids' names because I thought that's who it was. And then, and, they're way too short. These are not my current children. But I
Right.
realized,
Oh boy, you're cutting out.
oh, okay. Are we
Yeah,
back?
you're back. Yep.
Okay. Sorry. This happens all the time when I
I
talk
was
on
gonna
phone.
say, who doesn't want
We
the
will get
story told?
interruptions. We will get thunderstorms. We will get
Yes.
crazy. Well, the other day, one of my cats came in and just started jumping around the room, and I keep the door closed, and he was like having a great time. It scared all of us, including me. But anyway, yeah, they were. The problem was, I was, really happy that they were there, but they were not. There was no love coming off of them. There was no kindness coming off of them. It was disdain and anger and
Wow.
evil. The feeling was visceral. You could cut it with a knife. It was thick in the room, and and I was shocked because that's the last thing I expected. I'm like, aren't you part me? I thought they would love me, but they had no love whatsoever for me. I
Wow.
was shocked. And they tried to get me. They wanted me to come with them. They didn't speak, but it was telepathically.
Yeah.
And I started to levitate off the bed. They started trying to pull me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going with you, because it was just, it wasn't pleasant. It was a very evil and a very scary. And I didn't go into it thinking that, I was excited when I woke up and they were there. I was overjoyed. I was practically joyful. I almost jumped off the bed.
Right.
And then it was just like, whoa, that
Right.
not at all what I expected. So I was like,
Right.
in Jesus' name, I'm not going with you. And as soon as I said that, I back down on the bed. My husband shoots straight up, sits up, because I was, trying to get his attention. He was just switched off, and they were gone.
Wow.
And I didn't get to see them again. And I really think God allowed that to happen so that I could have my closure, because I really wanted them.
Well,
As a
you've longed
mother,
for a long time.
I longed for them. And
Yeah.
then after seeing them, I knew there was no love there for me with them. They
Right.
had no love for me. They weren't the same as my my human children. And, I think it seems to be that we've had reports of things over the years, like my children, I think, would fell into the kind of black-eyed kids era.
Right.
And then before that, I think there were reports of like scraggly haired, thin, sickly looking, almost, And
I've
I
seen
think,
images of that. Yeah.
yes, me too. And so I think, because after that, I looked into it. I didn't know what I had encountered at that point.
Right.
And then shortly after that, when I met L.A. Marzulli, I started learning a lot more about it.
Right.
And then from what I can tell now, I think the hybrids are very much human-like, very easily pass for human, and as Dr. David Jacobs coined in his books, walking among us
Right.
very easily. I think that could be the case.
I would agree with you.
Yeah,
I would agree with you.
And I've had people ask me, you think they can be redeemed? And I said something on one of LA's Marzulli shows, that I felt they could.
I'm going to come up to that right here.
Yeah, and it's not that I have any choice in that. I'm not making a choice that they can't be redeemed. I'm not saying they can or they can't. I was saying it was a feeling that I had, but it's not up to me. It's up to, our Father God. It's up to our Creator. He's the only one who can make that choice, not me. But I don't feel, based on, what biblically we found, that there's anything. I don't think they had a soul. I don't think they had a soul.
Well, Wayne was asking, do you think they were angry because they felt abandoned by you?
I don't think so, because there's no way I could have abandoned them. I wanted them my whole life, right?
Yeah.
So no, and that, that's a really good question, and that would make sense. But no, because I wanted them my whole life, and I was still being abducted and taken my whole life. So I don't know if I had been around them other times and just had screen memories put in place and didn't remember them. But so I don't remember any other interactions other than those 2 times with them, that I don't have any. I don't think that there would be any way for me to have abandoned them, because I didn't. Have that choice.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah, it's a great question. And no, I never chose to abandon them. And I think they knew that, because they knew I was excited and happy to see them. So, and yeah, kids get mad. Everyone who has kids knows.
It kind of makes you wonder a little bit, because, if you're with a superior, let's say, race of beings, and you're raised a certain way in the technology and being telepathic, it would sort of make me feel like, I think I'm just way too primitive.
Yeah, right.
They'll just speak to me, just like.
Exactly. And we don't fit, we don't fit into that realm, and they don't fit into ours, and we're not intended to be together. That's not God's way. That's not natural. We aren't intended to procreate. And that's why, these, I think a lot of them don't survive. And I think, and that's why I think they work with family lines as well. When you find someone whose DNA
There's something
works,
they're looking for. Yes.
Yeah, they keep working with it. And they always told me I was special in that respect. You're special, you have all the things that we need. You're special.
Well, your children survived.
And I'm like, yeah, some of them survived. So
I'm going to skip over this question, because she had asked it a while back.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure. Dolly initially asked, where did you live?
I grew up in Central and Southern Ohio.
Okay. Now I'm going to go to the next question that she had, and then we'll keep going.
I write about that in the book too. I talk a lot about where I grew up, because I think that was significant. But you can read about that if you have an opportunity to get the book.
Perfect. She says, as a Christian, do you believe we are in last days? Could you, as a Christian, have been contacted by evil men here?
Yes, I do believe that we are. I just think all the signs and things point to that. There's just so much. But then again, nobody, who knows? It feels that way to me, only because there just seems to be such a thinning of the veil right now. There seems to be such a ramping up of just rampant evil and good in the world, both, and I think so. I think there's just a lot of signs to that. I'm not going to predict what or when, but it feels like it to me. Yes, it really does. And the other part of that question,
no, that was all there was. I'm going to jump to another question as we go along, and then but before that, we're just getting on to the end times and different signs. When I was 14 years old, That was a long time ago, people. Okay. I remember a
I don't remember
Catholic a Catholic priest came to me and he
that.
said, one day there's going to be, because it was a friend of my aunt's. So he just started talking to me randomly. Our family was there for dinner. And so he was sat and chit chatted and
Mhm.
said, one day people are going to lose faith in their
Mhm.
religion and they're going to come forward and start believing in extraterrestrial beings and all of this new age stuff. I thought it was pretty freaking advanced for that far back.
That is advanced for then. Yes, you're right.
He was known as like the real hip priest, right?
Okay.
Because he
Yeah.
Father Don was very young, and
Okay.
he was into all of the
Yeah.
the hip talk and so on. So we're just like, okay. So when he said that to me, I thought it was interesting that this is what they were taught in seminary
Wow.
when he was in seminary. And I thought, God, that's like early conditioning, because
Yeah.
they're talking almost like, okay, I'm not going to say it, but it was a long freaking time ago, people. and you know,
Oh, come on. For you and me, that was probably what 10, 15 years ago. We're fine.
okay, maybe that.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
go
let's
with
go
that
with
one.
that.
Yeah, we'll go
We're
with
gonna go
that
with
one.
1990. Okay.
But I thought already it was in place that
Mhm.
this was a hypothesis that was going to flip humanity around on their belief system. But
Mhm.
I'm wondering if they were maybe foretelling
Mhm.
disclosure, because I truly believe that. I mean, we're getting back into ancient civilizations. Let's face it. You can look at petroglyphs, hieroglyphs. You can look at ancient monuments, out of place artifacts. We're not the first kick at the can on
Nope.
this planet. That's the end of it. And
Mhm.
there was definitely a civilization of
Yes.
many types of beings here.
Oh yeah. There's a quote. I want to look it up when you said that, if that's okay, because that makes me think of it. And I can never say it quite right, but it is from a a recent show. Um, and about, well, I don't want to but it was about that we have this kind of historical amnesia, that
Right.
we've forgotten our past.
Oh my God. We're
We just live in
definitely
this little envelope
we're a
of time.
species with amnesia. Yeah,
Yes, we
I've
are.
heard that
And we have.
often. Yeah.
And how do you leave information? I mean, think about it. If things are destroyed in floods and fires and earthquakes and what have you, what's left? If we lost everything, if there was an EMP and our earth was destroyed like it was in the days of Noah,
Mhm.
what would be left? Our stone monuments?
I,
What's
I
that gonna
think it's
share?
there.
They're
I
gonna
think it's
see Mount
there.
Rushmore and be like, oh, there were four giant men who ruled this continent. Is that
Right,
what they're gonna get
right.
from them? I mean, what would they get? So we have to really look at it with eyes of, this is just what's left, but it's not what was.
Well, I agree with Chris. We haven't forgotten our past. Our past has been hidden from us.
Oh, that
I
too. I agree
I
100%.
think that's a big part of it. I think a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of us also, let's face it, we have continents that have disappeared, and
Yes.
and evidence has resurfaced now. We've found them. So
Yes.
and if we can look at them through fresh eyes and open minds and realize that it just goes back much farther than we were ever allowed to believe, because we're finding it. The earth is giving up her secrets and
Right.
we're finding them. So,
Right.
we
I
the
agree.
kids coming out of the sandbox going, "Hey, wait a minute. There's
And that's
something there's something new." you
and
know.
that's another reason I think we could be in the last days. Like the book of Daniel and stuff says, seal up this book to the last days. Well, all of a sudden that book's starting to make sense. Men will go to and fro across the face of the earth. Oh, that makes sense. We do that now, don't we?
We do.
And,
Yeah.
and think of how just quickly everything has just moved forward. Well, I think we've had help with all of this, all of our technology and everything else, because
Mhm.
we go from hundreds of years of horse and buggies to suddenly, you know, taking off in the space shuttle.
Yeah, we're still
All over the
behind.
fence. And
We're
we're still way
still
behind.
behind.
We're still behind where I think our civilization was. Yeah, I do believe I write about that too. It's so fun to write about and to research, because even before Noah, I think the civilization was amazingly advanced.
I agree.
compared to us.
I
We
agree.
just don't, we just don't have the information, and what is there, you're right, has probably been hidden and obfuscated from us.
Well, that's just a way of hindering our evolution to a point where it's manageable, I think,
Right.
for the powers that be. You don't want us you know, getting ahead of ourselves too quickly and
Yeah.
maybe, might have a little superpower in there somewhere.
True.
Lawrence says, do you think, we're getting back to your children here,
Yes.
do you think they were upset because maybe they were being bullied in a way?
That's a good question, Lawrence. I have no idea. I
Right.
don't know what their situation was. They didn't seem to have any obvious issues or problems with the way they looked. They didn't look like they were harmed in any way. They seemed
Right.
healthy. They seemed very strong.
Mhm.
So, but they just didn't seem to have a heart, a soul. They didn't have that. When you
At
meet
once.
somebody, even the most damaged person has some kind of you can still feel love and empathy from them.
Mhm.
There was nothing. It was like staring at a rattlesnake. Like
Right.
coiled up rattlesnake. I had somebody else say that about something, and it struck a chord with me because and I wish I could give credit where credit is due on that, but I don't know who said it. But
Mhm.
that's exactly what it was like. It was
Right.
like looking into the eyes of a coiled up rattlesnake. It just
Right.
didn't care who or what it was. So
Right. Doreen says, when they have a human body, they are empty inside. I have encountered two
that
of
sounds
these
the same.
beings.
Yeah, Doreen, that
And
sounds the same.
and then Wayne says, it makes me wonder if those children feel in some way not part of the human race or the alien race. They just don't fit in anywhere, especially if they were an early attempt at creating a blended hybrid.
Yes, that's a very good point and quite probably true. I wish I knew more, but like I said, they just didn't have. They
Mm.
didn't seem to have any reaction to
Right.
and no
Right.
kind of positive reaction, no love.
Right. It is
But yeah, that would make
definitely.
sense. That would be hard for them, I'm sure.
So why do you think that they're even intervening or involving themselves? There's a lot of theories on that.
Mhm.
So I'm anxious to hear your part.
Yeah, my theory on that is that the late Dr. Chuck Missler had a quote that because of, the third of the angels that fell with Satan's outnumbered 2-1 and he's building an army. And then you look at Dr. David Jacobs' books about walking among us, and you look at all of L.A. Marzulli's body of work, which is massive, and you look at so many other talented, amazing people out there who are doing the research and doing the work and all the other experiences and abductees and people. I think that these hybrids are an attempt to build an army, to build, and not, like a army the way we think of as our armies, our U.S. Army, but to build up an army of beings, of entities that are going to kind of fill in the gap for what they're missing.
Right.
And so that's what I think the ultimate goal is. And if they can blend into our society, if they can lead people away from the truth, can lead people away from love, if they can lead people away from being good and kind to one another and loving and from the truth and from Jesus and from, just from the good things in life, then they're also bringing more people to that side, to that
Right.
dark side, to the dark entities. So that's what I believe their ultimate goal is. And having had that face-to-face time with those children that were mine, that should have had some kind of feeling towards me, but had zero, just
Right.
nothing, I really felt more convinced than ever that was the case.
Would be about 30 today, she had mentioned.
They were in their 30s. Yeah, they would be in their 30s, probably mid to late 30s.
Right.
Still
Right.
my age.
Right.
Am I giving my age away? Yeah.
No. So I just try to avoid all that.
That's okay. I'm almost 60 and I'm okay with it. I just tell people I'm almost 80 and they're like, you look great. I'm like, I know, right?
Right.
I look
Right.
good for 87.
Chris says, does Karen think that the other side is building an army as well? St. Michael isn't just sitting down being quiet.
Well, they already have 2-1 there, and they've got the creator God on their side. So, and then they've got an army of the Christians. So yes, I do think they are, because they're building people in faith and people who believe. So in that respect, yes. But, God created man. We were created the way we are, with a heart and a soul and a body and a spirit, and that in is itself, in essence, is God's part of God's army, and we will ultimately be that. So yes, I believe that's the case, and every day we have more and more people born who will, ultimately hopefully be a part of that.
So I'm going to elaborate on Dolly's question here,
Okay.
because she's saying, okay, so these beings are part of Satan's army, and
Mhm.
I want to expand on that, because there are good beings out there as
Mhm.
well
Yes.
who go far the other way. There are
Mhm.
light beings. There are like incredible light beings
Mhm.
out there who have
Absolutely.
made themselves known, who have been
Oh, yes.
also have hybridization. You have people coming out of the woodwork, as I say, because
Mhm.
they're coming into being who are doing miraculous things, and people don't have an understanding of how or why. Like, what's your thoughts on the negative blood type?
I'm O negative.
Yeah, I'm a negative
So,
blood type. Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think that makes it easier to work with. So I think
right.
that that's a big part of it. Now,
So
as
you thought good or bad, because they can't trace the origin here on planet
right,
Earth.
exactly. But I have a soul and I'm
Yeah,
a child of God. And when I call on Jesus, he's here for me.
right,
And I
right.
know that my, Bible says that when those angels fell and mated with the humans, that was an abomination.
Right,
So I know that that's not a part of God's plan for me to be mating with fallen angelic beings.
right,
Um,
right.
so, but as
Well, I
far
had
as
to ask
blood
your
type
opinion,
goes,
because I know a lot of negative blood types, myself included.
I think it's really interesting. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I have a lot of
Yeah,
opinions on it.
yeah,
I think it's fascinating.
yeah.
And I think, there's something to do with back to the days of Noah. Honestly, I think it's a blood type that from the days of Noah, where it was really easy for these angelic beings to procreate with humans, that
Mm,
God changed something in the human genome at that point, and it kind of got bred out of us. But some of
right.
us still have it, and they're desperately seeking us because we're the people that they can utilize to create these hybrids with.
Some people believe it goes
Yeah,
back even like 30,000 years. They
I
think it
believe
could be extraterrestrial.
it could be because there
So
could have been that blood type
ancient
introduced in.
civilizations.
Mhm. It could be, and it could just be a genetic throwback that, we still have, or, God, who's to say that God had created these beings that he created that long ago, and then we also have that same kind of blood type. Hey, it worked, so he's going to use
Right.
it again, right? When
Yes.
something works, you keep using it, right?
Have a
And
good
we're made in
season.
their
Yes.
image. We were made
Right.
in their image. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, they also have some type of a genome
For
because they
sure.
wouldn't be able to procreate if they didn't. They
For
also must
sure.
have some kind of a blood system, although it's
Mm,
probably not the same as ours. There must be something there that works together. The problem is we don't have any information. We don't have any facts about it. And we
yeah.
don't have one of them that
Yeah.
we can sit down with. But, there have been angelic beings that have broken people out of jail, that have saved people from
Yes.
raging fires, that have sat down and had dinner with people, that have walked through walls. And those are just the ones in the Bible, not the ones that have also done that in modern times still today.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
when you talk about wonderful beings of light, oh yeah, they're out there. They are amazing. And the Bible says, you can be entertaining angels unaware. So be careful. And you wouldn't know because they can appear just like you and me.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. You make mention of you have two definitions in your
Mhm.
book that you talk about:
Yep.
ectogenesis and panspermia. Can you elaborate on what these are?
Absolutely. And I think the ectogenesis part definitely goes back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Ectogenesis is just the ability to bring a fetus to mature state where it can live outside of the womb in an artificial womb.
Right.
So it's something that we absolutely can do today. It's something that there have been news reports about the artificial wombs, but it's something they've been doing, these alien entities, for, excuse me, for a long time. So
Hmm.
I thought that was important to mention because it sounded like science fiction to people. And if I had told someone what I had seen 30 years ago, they would have thought I
Hmm.
was crazy. And that's way out there. but we can do it today. So when people try to say, well, the things I've written in my book are just too far out there, I'm like, you just said that about ectogenesis a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I can
Right.
prove to you that's possible. So,
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Now let's
oh,
talk. Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
I
Yeah,
think you asked me about
I
panspermia
did.
also.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
panspermia is the theory that we were seeded from another civilization, like maybe it came in off an asteroid or
Yeah.
another civilization and that kind of thing. So, and
Right.
that's kind of the ancient alien theory. And
Right.
well, I think that there is a lot to that. I don't believe in that theory because you know where if that's the case, then who created them? I
Why
believe we all have
why
a
do you
creator.
limit why do you limit and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I'm just talking in general, like
Mhm,
generalizing people um we tend to set limits on things
mhm.
when we speak. Why are we assuming or generalizing that the creator could not have created way before us? Like, I mean, there's out of place
Absolutely.
artifacts here and
Right.
locations that go into like hundreds of millions, if not billions of years with
Exactly.
really advanced technology.
Right, exactly, and I
Maybe we're
don't
just the
think.
perfect ones.
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm
And
just
we're the
saying.
only ones that we know about, right?
Yeah,
We have our information, we have our history, we have our Bible, and we have the
right.
things that we can work with. Out, but we don't know what God has done outside of that. We can't put our creator in a box. We can't decide that we have any idea what he's done and what he's capable of.
Right.
In Job, he says, were you here when I laid the foundations of the cornerstones of the earth and the foundations and earth, the pillars of
Mhm.
the earth, all that? This is so incredible. We've got to stop trying to put our creator, put God in a box. It's ridiculous.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think because we put limits, or the powers that be puts limits,
Hmm.
and they shouldn't put limits
Hmm.
because if we are talking, we know there's a creator. We know there's a
Yeah,
creator. I mean,
yeah,
we're all
and
here. Something created us. Someone created us. We're here.
yes, yes,
So there's no argument there. But I
yes.
really do believe that it is our creator is a being of antiquity that been around far longer than we can even
Hmm.
perceive. It's just,
I
you
agree.
know,
I agree.
so
We just don't
I,
have
I
the
think we're just the
information.
kids in the sandbox that don't know how to get
Yeah,
along.
we have a
So
little bit of information, and we're making a lot of assumptions. And
I think so.
I think that we all have to be careful and really remember that the important part is that we end in love, and that we're together in love, and that we listen to each other. Because we may not always agree on everything, but I love all the things you talk about and the things that you say, and I listen, and I take all that into account because
Right.
I don't think I have all the answers. I don't think I have any of the answers. All I can
Right.
tell you is what's happened to me. And I think it's just important that we be kind to one another, that we don't judge one another, that we just, you know,
Right.
share, listen, and be good to one another. Because otherwise, we're never gonna get anywhere. And
I
we need to
agree.
help each other and be together
And I think
because
open
I think we're
mind.
against some dark forces here, and we need to
Oh,
really
we
be together.
and without a doubt, and some of them are human. Put that out there,
Yes,
and who are
exactly.
maybe just puppets, but human
Yes.
nonetheless. So I agree with Dolly, which is we must be careful not to judge. But she also goes a step further, which goes back to my talking about open minds, is without absolute understanding, knowing absolute truth. And I think the key word here is absolute, saying that ET or demons can be a big
Mhm.
problem.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think there's a
yeah.
lot of
And
I
that's
mean,
why
I
I say
have.
it's conjecture on my part, and that's why I say it's something that I believe, and I'm basing it on ancient texts and ancient scripts. But I'm
Mhm.
not saying all ETs are demons, and I would never say that because I
No.
don't believe that. I
Yeah.
just don't believe that. I believe that there's a suit for them because demons need somewhere to live, and they need
Mhm.
something to live in.
Right,
But I
right.
certainly don't think all ETs are demons. No, no, no. I think they're much, much
Technic
more advanced than that.
Technically speaking, if we're talking about extraterrestrial, it could be anything that's not of this
Yeah.
direct planet. But then we also have interdimensional, dimensional, we live in a multiverse. Like, I mean, it goes on and on and
So much.
on. I
Mhm.
am open-minded, but extremely logical. So it's
Amen,
one
sister.
of
Yeah.
those things where I still look at things with wonder. I still make it a point of learning one new thing every single day
I love that.
because we don't have all the answers. And
We don't.
one of the best parts about the show and having this platform for people to come and talk about their work, their books, their experiences, their beliefs, is that it does put it out to the world. Almost 3 million
Oh
a
my
night
goodness.
worth of putting it out to the world. And I think it's important. I think perspectives, all perspectives, are important and need to be looked at and analyzed. And
Definitely. Definitely.
everything has its place.
Yes, it does. And we should be able to accept each other and love each other and listen to each other. And it's really important. And we don't all have to agree. There's nothing
Right.
that says we all have to agree. I don't see that anywhere.
No, I
And
agree.
and we're not going to learn if we just sit in our one lane and decide that's the only way that it
There's
is.
too many people trying to create division in this world, and I think it's important. Unity and consciousness, being unified is more important than absolutely everything, and supporting one another. Like I support, people who go through these
Yes.
unbelievable experiences because it happened, and trying to get it figured out, that's the key. Figuring it out. Why me? Where does it come from? Why did I go through all of this? Why was I not, like you say, you spoke about consulted? Like, why am I being taken against my will? Why do I not have any say? I get wigged out. I'm just thinking it's a big intrusion, no matter who's standing at the end of my bed in the middle of the
Right. It
night.
doesn't have to be an ET. It could be the neighbor's cat.
That's
And
what I'm
it's still an
saying.
intrusion.
It's like,
That's
yeah,
my space.
exactly.
And you need to have times and places where you feel safe. That's very important, especially
Right.
to a little child. And I think that's where some of the damage gets done.
Right.
But I love that you have a platform where you listen and you give people a chance to share and to be heard, because there just isn't enough of that. And there are a lot of humans, like you said, out there trying to wreak havoc and cause trouble and problems.
Yeah.
And hurting other people. And I'm
Mhm.
just praying for all the people in Maine right now. And I haven't seen an update on that situation, but my heart, my prayers, my heart just goes out to everyone there. And there's just enough hurting going on in this world as it is. Too
I
much.
think there's too much. I think, I think there's just too much. And this is where we, the people, have to become more unified. Dolly sent an email. I will get to that in 1 minute. Too long. Chat only lets you put so many characters. So,
Oh, I see. Okay.
so I always tell people, just send it to me, then I'll read it
Sure.
out. You make mention of 2 dates: Roswell in 1947 and the Grenada Treaty. What are the events, and how do you believe that they tie into this whole abduction agenda? And I will pull this up.
Okay. Yes, I put those in my book because they're 2 events that I think most people might be familiar with, and they showcase 2 things. One, when you think of the Roswell, you think of the fact that they put the headline out there that the saucer crashed, and then they yanked that back away from us and put another one out, said, nope, it was a weather balloon. And it's this back and forth that we get from our leaders, from those in positions of power, from our government, from the groups who are taking control. And then that coupled with the Grenada Treaty, which is a rumored treaty made with extraterrestrials by either our government or an offshoot of our government. We have the declassified documents that talk about the Majestic 12, although highly redacted. At least we have a little bit of information about what was happening at that point in time. So it shows a willingness by our government to go into agreements with them, to obfuscate and hide information from us. And that is still going on today. And, then we get December of 2017 and the New York Times article about the black money and the black ops comes out. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we're not looking into UFOs, but we are looking at UAPs. And then we get the whistleblowers, and then we get this back and forth. And yes, we are. No, we aren't. Yes, they're real. No, they're not. Oh, well, but we have crafts, and we have biologics, and we have, we have the videos and all these things. So I think it's just to say, I'm not crazy. This is real. It's been real. It's been out here for a very long time.
Right.
We have been misled for a very long time.
Yes.
And
I agree with you.
Really need to look at this more closely and listen to each other, because they're not the powers that be. They are not going to give us this information. And I don't really think we'll have any kind of full disclosure, because in order to do that, they would have to fully disclose what they've done. And I don't think that will ever happen.
I agree with you on that too. And there's a lot of people within the field of ufology who feel exactly the same way.
And a lot of
You're
people,
not going to have too many
definitely aren't
powerful
gonna-
men who want to come out and say, yeah, we knew about it and let it happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
And they don't like you talking about it. They don't like people talking about it. They don't like it getting out. They don't like the truth out there. But if we don't start talking about it, it's going to just get sucked back into the shadows again. I just can't stand the thought of that happening.
I agree. Well, it's people such as yourself and people, other experiencers who come forward and they want to talk about their experiences. I think there's stories that need to be told. And yeah, there's some great stories and there's some not great stories. Right. Dolly actually she's a contactee from birth. Her first memory was a book has been written about her as well, and called Symmetry. And this Talara is her extraterrestrial contact. And this is his message that she was always taught. Be strong in love. Love is what carries through. Love is what heals. Love is the strength of life. Love has no limit. Therefore, let love become who you are. Let love evolve to its fruition. Let the light that is love burn bright. Let its wisdom guide you to the higher understanding. Let its power move you to teach its power to others. Love, be strong in love.
That's lovely. That's beautiful.
So I think there are many beings out there who don't agree with everything that's going on here. And I think it's like I always say, you got your good people, your bad people. I believe, and any race is going to have that mix.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I agree with that too. 100%. There are good ones, and then there are fallen.
And then you have humans.
The same vehicles of conveyance. They're all using the same kinds of things. So it's hard for us to be able to tell until something happens to us, until we're harmed in some way or something like that. Then you kind of know what
That's traumatic.
Yeah.
I think everything you've been through is traumatic.
I can get behind, trauma is trauma. And that's hard. That's hard. So thank you for helping people to heal. I love that everyone gets to have a voice here, and that these great questions that are coming up. I'm trying to kind of look at the side. I've got a little bit of some of them showing on my screen. So if you all see me
I try to put them up. Sometimes they just have a conversation going on themselves,
Yeah, that's true. I saw something about like the different blood types not being able to mix, and that's really interesting. Yes, because
it's true. My when I had my children, my former husband was an A positive. I had to take the Rogaine shot, right?
And after you do it once, then you're,
I know.
I have 2 negatives and 1 positive, and thank goodness my positive was my second one, because the way that works is once you've had 1 positive, then your body has really built up antibodies against them. So thank goodness my third was a negative. And so I didn't have any issues, but I had to take those shots too.
But isn't it interesting how the negative blood type tries to attack?
Yes, like it doesn't want that baby to be born, right? It's like it doesn't want to.
It's interesting. Is it protection? Is it self-preservation for, for I don't know, our design? I don't know.
Is it by design? I think that the reason that and I in the book when I talk about the missing pregnancies, I believe they take them before the end of the first trimester is because our bodies are designed to reject anything that's not matching into our.
Yes.
And probably with the Rh positives, we're able to carry them through that first trimester,
Right.
but probably no further. And I think that's why they always take them before the end of that first trimester. Not that anyone asked that question, but when I saw that about the Rh negative,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
that
jump in whenever you'd like.
okay.
I always say
Thank
I
you. And I
prefer
am no,
I
I've got
prefer
about
the
15 more minutes here. If I
yeah,
don't know how much time you have,
absolutely.
so I'm gonna run out of time on my end.
No, you go.
But I
So
want to keep answering as many questions as I can if anyone has any more. I love
yeah,
the
no, go
questions.
ahead. Go ahead. Like I said, people will just start chiming in. In the meantime, why do you think that, children are so vulnerable with this? I know why they are with malevolent entities,
Mhm.
but why do you think they are so targeted? Start them young, get them used to
Because
you,
a couple of
conditioning. What
reasons.
is
Yeah, they're children. I mean,
yeah,
they're defenseless, right? A
right.
child comes at things with innocence, with openness. Most children, that's why we have to teach our children not to get in a car with stranger when they offer them candy or a puppy.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, heck, most adults will go walk up to a car to see a puppy, and that's not
That's
safe.
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
I
That's
had a
true.
neighbor who did that one day. I'm like, "Are you crazy? It was a man in a van with puppies. No, don't do that."
No puppies. No.
No.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I think they're and also I think it is if you get a good genetic match, if you're going to want to work within that genetic um,
Mm,
tissue, that genetics as long as you can. I mean, I
right.
think our lifespans are much shorter than theirs, which is why it goes in families and generations. So the more time you get utilizing that, the blood and tissue that they're able to collect or whatever it is they need, and no one ever sat me down and said, we
Mhm.
need this and that, but
Right.
then I think that allows them to have more time with it. And
Mhm.
also, yeah, children are very malleable, very
Mhm.
pliable. So a child can be taken and can be groomed to believe and work within whatever paradigm is set before them,
Right.
without question sometimes. So
Right.
when we're children, we're naive and we're easily swayed. So that's
So
why I think it starts with children.
I have to ask you, does your children now, I mean your human children, are they aware that they have hybrid siblings?
They are.
And how do they feel about that?
They're it is what it is. They know what's
Yes.
happened. They
Yeah.
believe me. They've seen this. They
Right.
understand it. They know that they're safe.
Right.
They know the situation. They
Right.
understand that my interaction with them was not positive, and they're okay with that.
Right.
And so they're very sorry, there's a cat going making noise
It's,
behind me
Chris
again.
got distracted by a cat as well. Yeah.
Oh, woo, both of our cats are on the same wavelength tonight.
I know, maybe.
Maybe. Yes, oops, sorry, I got distracted by a cat. No, I was afraid something was going to fall on me from. But yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh goodness, sorry. I wish she'd come up here. She's really pretty.
That's okay. We've got a lot of pets that join in.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Usually they try to get on camera. That's why I try to close the door, but they managed to get it open. So,
Right.
is
So,
there any other questions that?
no, people are just sort of chit-chatting along and
Okay,
making
good. Well, if
just make
anyone is
making their
interested in the
comments.
book, I can
Dolly
listen.
Dolly says I carried my first hybrid child for 7 months.
Wow,
I
that
named
is
him Alexander.
incredible. Wow, I need
That's
to
what I'm
say
saying.
that's incredible.
I
See,
think there
that's
are
a much
people
different
who
scenario to mine,
yeah. Well, I think
and
maybe it depends on perhaps the race.
yes, it does, and I think you have to be willing to, listen, and I like that she can share that what's happened to
Mhm.
her and have a positive story, but mine was very different, and I can share
Yes.
that too, but it doesn't mean it's the same thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that
Uh,
makes sense. I'm
no,
trying
it does.
to
I
what I'm
think all
saying.
experiences are different,
You can feel like a
and like I
fairy
said,
child.
some are good, some are bad. It doesn't
Mhm.
take away
No, as long as you're willing to
from
listen to both, to all
right,
the stories, and then
right,
everyone based on your own scenario,
right,
you can, make your decisions and and whatever, and like I said, not judgments, because I don't think that's a fair
right.
word to use in this case, but I think that's important.
But
I
if
think it's really
anything,
important.
the book has opened up an
Oh,
entirely different world for you,
it has.
a
It
support
has.
system,
Hmm.
an opportunity for you to be a support system.
Absolutely. It really has, absolutely has, and that
Right.
is amazing. So I'm just happy that I can do that. The book is available exclusively right now,
Let
only
me
at
put my back up 1 second.
oh, sorry.
Bam. There we go.
There it is. Exclusively right now at lamarzulli.net. And you can find a link to that through my website,
Which
which
I
is
have.
okay, good, which is my
Yeah.
name. And
Karin Wilson or
Wilkin-
KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. So
yes.
guys, it's just scrolling across the bottom.
And you can contact me through my website as well. Please, if you have any questions or need to reach out, please reach out to me that way. I will get back to you as quickly as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really happy that we all now have, I just want us to keep talking. I
Right.
really want us to keep talking about this. I really want us to keep sharing this. And I just think that's really important. And I want us just to keep being good to each other, be kind to one another. There's no reason for people don't need to be at odds.
Mm-hmm.
There's
I agree
so
with
much
you.
ugliness in the world right now. And you are just absolutely lovely, Michelle. I have enjoyed
Thank you.
every minute of this
Thank
time with
you.
you and
Likewise.
all of your listeners and everyone who's been putting up comments. I wish I could have read them all. I kept
Well, here's the
trying
last
to
one.
watch them. Oh, okay.
Would you accept a positive meeting with ET?
At this point in my life, I have had very positive meetings with angelic beings, and they were
Right.
amazing. So with a good being, but not with the fallen. The fallen ones, I'm done with that. That part of my life is done. But yes, with an angelic, if an angel is going to come here and be with me, oh hallelujah, that's wonderful. I love that idea. I'll angels all day long. Yes, please.
Right.
They're amazing. Wow, that would be yes, all day long, any day.
I love that.
Any day.
Open minds and keeping the journey, keep expanding on your
Yes,
journey. We often have to remember that we are these amazing spirits having a human experience.
we are.
And the essence will just continue to grow. And it's so important that we try to make as much of our time here and evolve as much as possible, because we take that with us
We do.
long after the body ceases to be. And Lawrence, thank you so much for sharing my first time tuning in. You made it awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Lawrence. That is so kind. I appreciate that so much. What a joy. This has just been such a blessing.
And Chris says, our friend Karin Wilkinson sends out a warm energy. Absolutely believe her. She's good people.
Oh, thank you, Chris. That is beautiful. Everybody, Chris, Dolly, Lawrence, everyone here has just been so kind, so loving, so wonderful. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. I do a lot of interviews, but Michelle, I have loved every second of this. You are amazing.
Thank you. And I know Amelia missed it all. So she's like, I know her.
Well, yeah, I'll come back sometime, or I'll just get on here and chat when you guys are having one of
anytime
shows, so that I can
anytime.
questions. Because I'm sorry that I missed her. She's just lovely, but maybe I can come back sometime when she's here in a couple months or something. Or if I ever when things come up.
Oh, we're already booking into the new year.
Yeah, me too. So exactly. But if some crazy government thing comes up again, or someone comes up with another
that's a whole other show, isn't it?
Mummy,
yes, I love it.
I'm happy to pop in for 5 minutes or something. So
love it.
But you're such a doll.
Thank you for sharing your story with us and entrusting all of this information. I know it gets very difficult and very emotional, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on and share it with all of us. It's it's very it's a lot. Sometimes it can be a lot to recount.
It is a lot. I tend to go off and cry later.
Aw, big virtual
no,
hug.
it's fine. It's always an emotional release, and that is a beautiful thing. And sharing is a beautiful thing, and all the love. You can just feel love from everyone that's on these posts and everything. It's love. It's love and beautiful.
It is. And our chat room is awesome. So we're very grateful for them. And I always say, you make the show that much better, and they do. See,
They
having such great
absolutely do.
guests.
It adds so much love to everything. I think that's just wonderful. Well,
Thank
I
you.
thank you all so much. Please
Thank you.
have a
I
blessed night. Thank you again.
And I
Thank
will be
you,
in touch
everybody.
with you with links and so on, so
Oh,
you'll have
please do.
everything.
Yes, I'll share them around to everyone. I'll put them on my website. And I just look forward to following you in the future and hopefully
Thank
seeing you again
you. Well,
sometime.
stay in touch with me.
I will. Absolutely. You know how to find me too.
I
Thank you,
do.
everybody. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for taking the time to listen. It means the world to me. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All
And
right.
it's a pleasure. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we've come to the end of another fantastic segment. I know you hear me say fantastic a lot, but honestly, we do get really amazing guests, and we appreciate all of your comments and your questions. It's very, very important, and it shows support, which is also very, very important. So thank you, everyone in chat room. Big thank you, of course, to Karin Wilkinson for coming on board and sharing her story. Huge thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring the show. Big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, and Steve McGinnis for also being a sponsor with the time and their work. So thank you. If you guys want to contact us, the outer realm contact at gmail.com, or go to the Facebook group page, click email. It's definitely probably one of the easiest way, but always email. So if you want to see a guest or a topic, let us know. I do get people, however, who message me and just say, hey, this is my experience, but they don't really specify if they're interested in telling it in public or not. So if you have messaged and you really do need to give me a bit more detail with respects to where it is you would like to go with this sort of thing, because there are a lot of listeners and the archives do very well. So you have even more people who are going to hear that story. Okay, so bear that in mind. So next week, Wednesday, we have C.L. Thomas coming on for the very first time. She's going to be discussing her book, Dancing with Demons, a Paranormal Encounter, which is based on a true story. So that one, I was really excited about that one. She's just a really, really lovely person, and we're looking forward to having her, just talk about her experience. Thursday night, we welcome back our very own Dolly Saffron. And let's just say she's going to be catching us all up on some important things and going over a lot of misconceptions about, ET for one. It's going to be a little bit of a delicate show. Let's put it that way. So we'll just leave it right there, because it's always exciting when Dolly comes on. So let's face it, well, we're going to have a good time. Also, October 31st, because you are not going to be seeing the Outer Realm until then. So please, if you're on the network, just, prep yourselves up, listen to the promo. I'll play it again. But October 31st, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, we are having a Halloween party. So it's for the host. So we're all going to kind of congregate in one spot, have a lot of fun, maybe do some panel talking, and some may dress up, some may not. And either way, it's going to be a fantastic show. So I'm going to play this for you guys again. I'm going to say goodnight, and I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. All righty. Love you all. Thanks for being you.